Hello and welcome to the Devils in God's Country. Once again, this episode 2. I think today we are going to be speaking about how religious, or I guess how or why religious parents seem to want to force gender roles onto their children. Before we speak about that, though, uh, when we set up the new Facebook page for the Devils in God's Country, I used a header with a bunch of prominent atheists and a female person that liked the page noticed that it was all men, and she commented on that, and I think that's something that we probably would like to address at some point, but I think as everybody knows that knows anything about Atheist Republic, we're certainly not sexist here. My lovely co-host is a beautiful, beautiful young woman who is also very intelligent and writes some very articulate and wonderful things for the page. So we're certainly not sexist here at the page, and we certainly do want to get female voices out there a little more. So on that note, I'll turn it over to Miss Allie.
Hi, Casper. You should start drinking some more. So yeah, I think that is a sad issue that we don't have more prominent atheists that are out there. At least one said something to the point of, a female that's on the same page as Christopher Hitchens. And yeah, I actually don't know if I agree that there aren't. I just know that they're not as highly publicized, for sure. And why is that? A variety of different reasons. We have some women who do a lot of fantastic work in Islam, trying to help people there, help people get out of situations, and they just can't be as vocal. They just can't be as loud. Women also tend to really piss off a lot of Muslim men who want to be violent towards us. So it's very intimidating when you open up your Facebook and you go to your messages and you have 45 different messages or whatever in a day of men telling you they're going to rape you, they're going to hunt you down, they're going to torture you, they're going to make their dog fuck you. It's crazy crap. And I know that guys get it too, I'm sure, absolutely. But I think that it is kind of definitely a scary ordeal for a lot of women. And I think maybe that's why they're not as highly publicized, because they just don't want to be.
I'm very lacking in the rape threats, and I kind of feel like I don't know. I feel like I'm being discriminated against. I think there's some gay dudes out there that need to be like, man, I will fuck you in the ass, you piece of shit. It's like, okay, awesome. Like now we're on the same page. Like equality, man, equality all the way around. I guess I'm not sexy enough for gay dudes. Sorry, guys. My bad. No, but that it is a serious issue. Honestly, it's a very serious issue, and it's one of those things where a lot of people look at the atheist movements and the atheist groups and stuff, and it does seem to be a boys' club, and they look at the prominent atheists, and it seems like there's, Dawkins and Hitchens and Harris and Dennett, and these are the names that come up time and time and time again. However, one prominent female atheist that's really been picking up a lot of steam is Ayan Hirsi Ali. I'm not sure if I can pronounce. I don't think I pronounced that correctly. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you happen to see this, Miss Ali. But yeah, and she's doing some wonderful work out there, and she's doing wonderful work because CJ Whirlman has attacked the shit out of her and just called her all kinds of horrible things. So, it's like they say in the video gaming world, when you run into enemies, you're going the right way. So.
That is true. It's very true. And another thing that really sucks is, like when I broadcast it, and I handle things in a different way, right? I like to kind of laugh it off. These guys are hilarious. They're never making it to the States. These threats mean absolutely nothing to me. Let's all laugh together. And, you do that, and women come out and say, well, you deserve it. what? Why do women feel the need to attack other women? Why are we doing this? Which I will say this, though, in the atheist groups that I'm in, the atheist circles that I'm in, women don't really do that very often. I have a ton of girlfriends. Women are amazing. They're just above that for the most part. But that is another challenge that we face is the attack from our own side, which is kind of weird. I don't really see that often coming from guys. But yeah.
Well, and I think honestly, this is a really good segue into our main topic, because I think a lot of that sort of violent nature and that sort of aggressive tendency of many of these men that want to attack women, that are very vocal, that all comes back to what's been instilled in them from early on in their lives. That's a man's man. A man's man is a chauvinist pig. He's a misogynist. He's a big burly guy that can kick asses and doesn't take names, and will rape a woman and shit. And certain cultures, yeah, we've gotten away from rape's not cool, but it's not been that long. I don't go, dude. Even in the U.S., it's not been that long since a woman couldn't press charges against her husband for raping her. Okay, your husband couldn't rape you legally standing. Your husband couldn't rape you in the United States, and that's that's less than 50 years ago that it came about, that the law started to change. So the attitude and the atmosphere here, we're just now progressing beyond that attitude, and I think a lot of it stems from that early childhood gender role establishment. Like, this is what a man does, and this is where a woman's supposed to be, and those hard, stiff lines. And I think that's what we need to talk about. I think that's what we're going to try and hit at is how that affects the world around us, because it does. And a lot of that does stem from religious ideology. You look at the Bible, you look at the Old Testament, some of these men that were supposed to be great men, like Noah and Moses, were absolute misogynistic assholes, man. But that's the standard. And then even God himself within the Bible is another misogynistic asshole, that women are below men and women are not as worthy as men. And it gets much worse in Islam. Regardless of what any moderate would like you to understand, it is much worse, much worse in Islam. And that's only because of 500 years difference and progress. Okay, that's the only reason Christianity could still just be just as bad.
Well, and I think that it still is. I look at my childhood. I grew up with 3 older boys, right? I had 3 older brothers, and then along came the girl. And my mom did not want a girl. She did not want, I don't know, she always hated other women. She didn't like me. And I was absolutely raised to believe that my sole duty in this world was to marry a man and be his little bitch, cook for him, clean for him, have his babies. Education for me wasn't that important. Going to anything that I found interesting, it wasn't important. I was to play the piano. And yeah, I was able to do a little bit of art or whatever was appropriate for a little girl to do. But as having my voice heard over there is no. I played a very different role in my household than my brother. People that tell me, oh, that's not a thing that goes on anymore. I have a hard time saying it's not a thing that goes on anymore, because that's what happened to me. I was raised in a very chauvinistic household. It was hell for me as a woman. So breaking through from that and finding my own voice, and that was only taken about 10 years, okay, breaking away from that, there was no God on my own, finding my own voice on, and wanting to be a better person, wanting to educate myself, wanting to make myself matter. I matter. And I don't matter because I popped a baby for some man. I don't matter because I cooked some dinner. I don't matter for any of those reasons. My house isn't spotless, that doesn't make a woman. What makes a woman is her own voice, her own standing in this world. You've got to find it. You just find it. And when you do, you've got to be loud about it. I don't care if you're right. I don't care if you're wrong. Find your voice and be loud about it. And don't buy into the crap that's out there nowadays. So if you do believe, because in your household, you were raised as an equal, that all households are like that, no, you're wrong. Just as I can't sit here and say, because I was raised in a household that was very chauvinistic and it didn't matter, doesn't mean that all households are like that. So I do get that. I do get that we are stepping away from. But let's not pretend ourselves and say that, oh, this isn't anymore, because it absolutely is. And we're raising a generation now where women are not only accepting of this subservient role still, but they'll claw each other's eyes out over who's more subservient. So let's look at the difference between stay-at-home moms and working moms, right? Stay-at-home, that she's much better. She can stay home and raise her family. She has her kids. Well, some working moms, I'm sure, would love to do that, but just can't. It doesn't make them worse. And then, there's some others that don't want to do that too. There's some others that do say, no, I want to get out. I want to work. I love my kids to death. And that's okay. And we have to get, and there are women that don't want to have kids. And this is okay. I just see each other tear each other up over this stuff. And it makes me so sick to my stomach, because on one hand, I hear women say, oh, that's not a thing anymore. We get the same rights as men. We get the same pay. No, we don't. We get the same opportunities, the same this and that. But look at what we're doing to each other. Like, how can you say that when, we read articles and we're absolutely okay with how to get your fit thighs and still make it to work on time and come home and clean out your entire laundry room. Those articles aren't written for men. They're written for women. And we're doing this to each other. We do this to each other. And it's disgusting. And it's absolutely something we have to start moving away from. And I don't think that means that we need to be going out and working on cars, doing the things that we deem manly. I don't even deem that manly, because I actually work on motorcycles myself. But and I like to do my nails. So look at me, I'm effeminate and masculine, I guess. But we need to find things that we need to start getting away from, these stereotypes. What makes a person a person? And our gender does not make us who we are. It just doesn't.
Yeah, and it's funny, because even in the atheist community, and in fact, especially in the atheist community, what we see is there is still this stigma against homosexuality, even amongst a lot of atheists, and the fallacious argument that always comes up is, well, biologically speaking, you're born either a man or woman, and so that's what you are. And it's just like, it comes back to the idea that gender goes beyond just your biological sex organs. It's a mental and emotional thing. It's more than that. And the issue with the sort of hatred that we see towards homosexuals that's still somewhat pervasive, even in the atheist community, is just, it's saddening. And it all comes back to these sort of established, long-held beliefs about gender roles, and a lot of that is just pushed onto us early on in life, and it's hard to escape that. My oldest little boy, his favorite color is pink, and when he first told me his favorite color was pink, I was like, oh, come on, dude. But then I got to thinking about it. I was like, yeah, well, so what? It's a color. What the fuck? What do I care? Because I don't care if he's gay, and that's the thing. But it was an automatic switch in my mind that said, oh no, pink girl. It was automatic, because it's just ingrained. It's been there. It's not just in our homes. It's in our schools. People lost their minds when Targets took the boys and girls labels off their fucking toy section. Yeah, and it's like, come on, man. A kid is a kid, and a kid might want to play with whatever the fuck he might want to play with, or she might want to play with. I look at, like, in the scientific community, I don't see female scientists and males. I see scientists. Your gender has nothing to do with it. You're just doing a job, and the same thing goes with toys and everything else. it's just there are certain things which have to be biologically specific. Like men don't really need tampons. I get that. That's a woman's tool. But at the same time, like a person having a vagina doesn't necessarily make her a woman. You know, she may feel emotionally and mentally like a man, and that may be her gender role that she or he once they decide that have to choose for themselves, you know. And I know that you're going through this with your son right now. He actually came out as homosexual, and wonderful thing, because you were just very open and supportive about it, and you've let everybody know, and you're just like, look, I don't want to hear any hate about it. If you've got a problem with it, just fuck off somewhere. But I think it's beautiful. This is my kid, and I love him, and I just want him to be happy. And then I think he went as Michonne for Halloween, which is just really awesome. So hopefully he didn't get any razzing about that. But then Halloween's one of those weird times where, you know, you can dress up as a woman and nobody really, you know, it's all just a goof. So.
Well, speaking of that, so you know that I just moved to a small town here in Texas, away from my awesome town that I loved so much because it was weird. But so we did. I took him out to dinner, and the waitress asked him, "Who are you, Bob Marley?" Because he had the dreads, right? But he also was definitely not Bob Marley. Bob Marley doesn't really carry around a katana. That's okay. And he said, "No, I'm Michonne." And she said, "Michonne, who's?" He said, "From The Walking Dead." And she said, "Oh, but that's a woman." And it was like, so? And she was like, "Well, I think you'd make a great Bob Marley." And it was like, why did he have to be a man? Why did he have to? He wanted to be Cleopatra so that he could be fast. Which I was also all for. But then he decided he wanted to be a strong character. And that was another thing in school. His teacher was very confused. They asked the children to write about somebody that they thought was a role model, right? So my son chose a female, and he said, "I think that she's amazing." And all the things he listed about her, never once did he mention the fact that she was a woman. He just thought that all of her accomplishments were just outstanding. And the teacher said, "You know, I don't think that you need to mention that she was the first female astronaut to do such and such." I was like, "Well, I did mention that she did such and such, you know," and it kind of really bugged him that he was getting so much attention from the class, from the teachers, and everyone wanting him to talk about her being a female. And he just liked her because she was a great person. She was a great role model, and he didn't understand we had to focus much on the gender at such a young age. So he was like, why is this a thing? No one up there to say, this man did this, this man, he was a man, the first man who did this. Why did he have to focus on the fact that she was a female astronaut? Why the whole thing about that? So there are great accomplishments. I do think that we do need to use as a barrier breakdown, right? The first black male in baseball or something like that, to show that person did do something prominent, they did do something great. But the person he chose wasn't the first female astronaut. I think she was just the first to do something in the space program. I don't know. But one of her little accomplishments. So it was just one of those things where it's like, why do we harp on that? And why can't a little boy look up to a female as a role model? Why is this an issue? Why is this a thing? So, you know, these little things that no matter how hard you work on it at home, whenever they go out there, if they're not mentally prepared for this stuff, this is really going to crush them. You know, why can't your son have pink as his favorite color? You know, when he tells people that at school, how much of a backlash is he going to get for that? And these are things that you just have to prepare children for. And that's so sad to me. It is so sad. My son wants a My Little Pony bedroom set. When his friends come over, are they going to laugh at him? You know, these are things that you have to tell your kids. This stuff happens. This is what's going on out there in the world today. This is what you're going to have to face if you choose this option. And I just really wish we worked harder at making this not an issue.
Mhm. You know, honestly, for me, when you point out things like this person was the first female to do such and such, in my mind, that's not an accomplishment. That's an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment that it took a female so long to get to the same place that men have been for fucking forever. That's an embarrassment. We should all be embarrassed by that. That's not an accomplishment. I mean, it's an accomplishment for her as a human being,
Absolutely.
but it's an embarrassment to us as a culture and us as human beings that it took her. We have to think about all the obstacles that she had to overcome, and all the women before her that had to climb just one little rung on the ladder to get just a little bit higher so that she could get to that point. And that should be an embarrassment for every single one of us, that to even say that this is the first female. If Hillary wins the presidency and becomes the first female president, that's an embarrassment. Okay, that's an embarrassment to our nation that it took us over fucking 200 years to have a female fucking president. That's an embarrassment. It's an accomplishment for that one woman, and it is showing a step forward for some semblance of equality, but it's nowhere near where we should. We should have been there 200 years ago. You know, we should have been able to step out of our little stupid mindset and get into a more reasonable frame of mind and say that any woman is capable of doing what any man is capable of doing, uh, to most degrees. There are a few slight exceptions on either side of the scale. It's like the only time we would ever talk about the first man to do something will be the day that the first man has a baby. Then we will discuss that. Then we will be like, oh, that it was the first man to ever have a child, to birth a child, and that we'll be like, holy shit, that happened. But like you said, you're never going to hear, oh, he was the first man to do this. It's always he was the first black man, or he was the first Jew, or anything like that. But it's never, oh, he was the first guy. Like that doesn't happen. So it's just sad, and that's an embarrassment. That should be embarrassing to each and every one of us.
Yeah, and how are we going to change that? Like, what is it that we're going to do when women? I hear so many complaints from women saying there aren't any prominent female atheists out there. Again, I beg to differ. But I do. I hear it all the time, and I hear them say this stuff all the time. And I just want to be like, then you be that prominent female atheist. You do it. I'm doing my fair share. You and I, we do a lot of work. And we get our voices out there, and we try really hard. I mean, will I ever be? Probably not. I don't know. Maybe I will be. Maybe I will be. I'm certainly not gonna lose sleep over it. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna keep working, and I'm gonna keep working, and I'm gonna keep working, and I'm not gonna let anything shut me up. So I think that's really ultimately the best thing that we can do, is when we see this stuff, we say something. When our children are saying this stuff, we say something, we correct this behavior. And I think that's just the best thing that we can do to kind of put an end to this crap.
Yeah, and I have to wonder. I have to wonder what the hang up is with so many religious people. Like, I have a child, and that child happens to have a penis, and so now I have to raise that child to be this certain set way, and any deviation from that, it becomes either a failure for the parent, or there's some that would go so far as my child was demonically possessed. He's been manipulated by Satan to be a homosexual, and it's like, come
That's
on, man.
and it
Yeah, and
pisses me off so much.
mhm.
Like, I can't. I shared on this today about a 16-year-old in Texas who is about to go and get an exorcism right now because he is fucking gay, and that pisses me off more than anything because my state won't do anything to stop it. Not only will they not, but they're actually working to pass a bill to allow this to continue, gay conversion therapy to continue. Fuck you. I cannot fucking believe that is a thing. And I don't want to sit here all righteous and high and mighty and say that when my son came to me with issues, I was just, oh, this is going to be great, blah, blah, blah. I love you so much. I definitely did love him. There was no doubt about that. But the first thing I thought was, life is going to be harder for you. And I immediately just got so scared. I got so scared because kids are going to beat him up. It's going to be harder for him here, where I am, here. It's going to be hard. And I immediately just shut myself up and said, I love you. And we're in this together. So no matter what happens, we're just going to do this together. So I think that it's perfectly normal for a parent to stop and feared. This is not what I'm used to. This is not what I was prepared for. But you need to fucking and accept it. Because it doesn't matter what your kid wants to be. If your daughter wants to be a man, if your daughter wants to be a stripper, fucking support her. As long as she's the best man she can be or the best fucking member she can, then you need to be proud and you need to support her. Who the fuck do parents think they are to step into their kids' life? That's my life. I'm going to dictate how it's run. No, you are not the boss of your children. You are here to guide them. Let them make their own, be the soft pillow where they get to fall if the world fucking crumbles. That is your fucking job. Not to own them, not to harass them, not to make them your little fucking pawn or something that you didn't get to be when you were growing up. Your job is to fucking support your kids. And I get so mad when I hear of this exorcism bullshit. I seriously, I want to take that kid. I want to take that kid here, and I want to save him. I want to protect him. I'm so angry over it. I can't even.
Yeah, we've talked about this many times before, and I think we touched on it in the last video. Your kids are not your fucking property. Your wife is not your fucking property. That's not the real world. Those are human beings. When you have a child, what you have is a very short and underdeveloped human being. And your job is to make them or allow them and help them to grow up into a fully developed, fully functional, grown human being. That's your job. Your job isn't your job isn't to fucking whip them into certain shapes and to fucking press them into a mold that you have in your mind of what they're supposed to fit into. That's not your fucking job. They are not your property. They're not. You don't just get to do whatever the fuck you want with your kids because they came out of your fucking body. Like I said last time, turds come out of your fucking body too. We don't see anybody fucking molding their turds into a perfect little turd shape so that they conform to the shape that people are supposed to have turds shaped in, and you don't do the same thing with your kids. And yes, your kids are turds. Yeah, my kids are little turds, man. They are. Sometimes I'm just like, oh God, I just want to strangle you. And it's because I'm an adult, and I'm a fully functional, mostly rational human being. And so when I look at them and they're doing irrational and crazy shit, I'm like, what the fuck, man? What the hell? But at the same time, like, I can't beat them into shape. I can't fucking twist and contort them into being what I think they should be. I just have to try and guide them and say, hey, this is how you be a decent human being. I don't give a fuck if you like penises and you happen to have a penis. That's fine. This is how you be a decent human being. And that starts by being a decent person to other people. Understand what it is that makes you happy, the things that you want for yourself, and apply that to the rest of the fucking world. When you meet other people, treat them the way you want to be treated. And I don't give a fuck what Christians think. That is not a fucking exclusively Christian idea. It supersedes and predates Christianity by thousands of fucking years. So suck a dick. Just get off your fucking high horse. That's not your exclusive fucking idea. Okay? That's existed for all of time. It's one of the most basic ethical rules that human beings have ever fucking conceived of. Treat other people as well as you would like yourself to be treated by other people. It's a very simple concept. It's the most basic, rudimentary idea in all of ethics. And that's what we have to get down to. How do you raise ethical, short, small human beings into grown adult human beings that are ethical? How do you do that? And you certainly can't do it by the Bible unless you're going to fucking ignore 90% of the goddamn thing. You can't do it by the Quran unless you're going to ignore fucking 90% of the fucking book. So, how do you do that? You do that through reason and logic. And those things advance over time with understanding. The more we understand about things, the more we can take a more reasoned and ethical approach towards those things. And that's why we see homosexuality being more acceptable in this country, because people are coming to understand that from the standpoint of sheer logic and reason and physical evidence and scientific conclusion and scientific evidence, there is no reason that there should be any stigma towards homosexuals. Okay, there's no reason for it. And if you can't find a logically valid reason, then you have to understand that your perspective is unethical. It's unethical if you hate or dislike or object to homosexuality and you have no fucking reason, because it just it boils down to what you can logically support. Can you logically and reasonably support your position? And that's where atheists are at in life. That, well, most of us, and then that's where we try to be. That's where I try to take it. You know, I try to look at the ethical sides of things. How can we justify our actions from a logical, ethical standpoint? And that's what we need to instill into our children. You know, that's where we need to take this.
I agree.
So Allie says we ran an hour and a half on our last show, and that was a bit long for a lot of our viewers. And I scheduled this one for an hour, but I don't think we're going to go that far. I know a lot of people don't like to watch such long videos, and you know, we could sit here and jackjaw about this subject for hours on end. Honestly, we could, because it's such an important topic. It's such an important discussion. I think what we would like to do, however, is we'd like to hear your input. Um, if you watch the video on YouTube, leave us a message down in the comment section. Let us know what you think. Let us know what your ideas are, whether you're religious, whether you're an atheist. Let us know your perspective and your opinions on what we've said tonight, and where you're at in life. What would your advice be to parents if you're a parent? What do you do with your children? You know, um, what's your guiding light when it comes to trying to raise decent, ethical human beings? Because that's what it's about. That's what it's really about. Making other decent, ethical human beings. That's how we fix the world that we're in, because the world that we're in is fucked up. And everybody recognizes that. No matter which side of the fence you're on, everybody recognizes that this world is fucked up from an emotional standpoint, from a mental standpoint, from a physical standpoint. It's fucked up. And we have to fix it. And the key to doing that is finding a logical and reasonable ethical route to raise a generation of people that take a different stance than what's been ingrained in all the rest of us so far. So please, if you're viewing this on YouTube, leave us some comments down below, and we will check them out. Check out our new Facebook page, Devils in God's Country. We just put it up today. I think we got blasted with like 135 likes so far. So people were interested in seeing what we're doing and what we're talking about. And I plan on being pretty active on the page. Allie will be an admin there on the page, and I'm sure she will be very active on the page and get involved. So if you want to hit us up there, hit us up there. If you've got suggestions for what we could talk about, if you want us to get a little more drunk beforehand, let us know. I was running a little late today, so I didn't quite get there. But yeah, that's one of those things that makes these run over. So just a reminder, although Allie and I are members of the Atheist Republic nonprofit organization, the things that we say here do not necessarily reflect the views of all members of Atheist Republic. We are not necessarily the voice of the entire Atheist Republic team or the organization. These are our own thoughts and our own opinions. So please do not hold Atheist Republic responsible for the things that we say. Um, if you would like to volunteer and join Atheist Republic, there's a link in the YouTube page where you can go and volunteer and join up on the team. If you would like to support us uh, monetarily, we do have options for that because the work we do is not free, and we can always use a little support if you have something that you could spare for us. So um, certainly not a pitch, but we always got to throw that out there because it is not free and it is not necessarily cheap either. Um, Thank you for joining us. For those of you that watch the show live, and for those of you that watch it on YouTube, stay tuned next week, same time, 10 o'clock p.m. Central Time. We will be back. I will probably be a little more sloppy next time, and we'll have a whole new topic to discuss. Also, we'll be getting these out in audio podcasts shortly, probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So if you'd like to just listen to these little rants on your way to work or whatever, we can get those to you totally free. They'll be available on atheistrepublic.com and on our Facebook page. So thanks for watching. I'm Casper Rigsby, Allie
Allie Jack.
Jackson, and we are the Devils in God's Country. Stay tuned for next week's show. I'm sure it'll be interesting. Thank you. Goodbye.